Cool. So the floor is open, guys. I know that Lauren put a couple of questions in the comments. There's only a couple things that I specifically wanted to like touch base on. So yeah, we'll go over what we've already got on the docket, and then as anything comes up, we'll just kind of talk through that. So the first thing that I want to talk through a little bit is core activation and scapular activation, okay? So basically what we're trying to do on 99% of the moves that we do is make sure that our core is activated and make sure that we have scapular activation. So
Hey, Betsy, we can't hear you.
now, Bueller, good, okay. So the tricky part is when a lot of people stack or pack, they also arch, okay? So really focusing on an upward and in motion here and a drawn back packed motion here, okay? This is particularly squats, deadlifts, anything we're doing in a plank or down on our backs, okay? So basically everything that we are doing. An easy way to help find that core and scapular activation, the first of all is if you think about your pelvic tilt. So if you're up on your knees here, and I'm hyper exaggerating it by really pressing my ribs forwards, but if I press my ribs forwards, then that creates that nice C curve in my back here. So now if I think about taking my belly button and pulling my belly button up and under my ribs, that automatically flattens that out. Then I can even exaggerate that more. When my belly button is pulled up and into my ribs, I still have some pelvic movement here. Then try to think about your tail driving down between your legs. Does that all make sense? Another way to think about it is if you feel a gap in between your ribs or the end of your bra line and the top of your pants or your hip bones, try to eliminate that gap. So you're closing, if there's a gap here, I'm trying to close that gap, okay? So that is going to protect our back on most things. Then once you've found that position, think about driving your shoulders down and pulling your scapula together. So if your shoulder blades are like wings, you see me here? If your shoulder blades are like wings, think about pulling the tips of your wings down and together. Does that make sense? Nothing. Here we go. Okay, cool. So if you're thinking about doing a deadlift, which we do moderately frequently, the two main things that I see are either this position or this position. So if before you move, you do your checklist, I'm just holding my arms above my head to get them out of the way. So if you pull your ribs and belly button in, you stack your shoulder blades, then it is the only thing that is moving is your hips. Another good way to check if you're doing this, find something, anything that's straight and long, place it on your back, and try to keep contact with that the whole time. So you never want to lose contact, okay? Does that cool you on that one? So then similarly, the same thing that we see a lot, I see a lot, is that the same thing happens on squats. So either you never start in the correct position and you're here, or you drop down as you go down. So really focusing on keeping that back in a nice straight line all the way up and all the way down. So pulling that core up and in, activating that scapular better. And then driving hips back and glutes down. Yes. Cool. So you'll start to notice if you do just those two things, a big change. And then again, same thing applies when we're down on our back. So again, I'm gonna over exaggerate it at first, but that big ol' arch pop belly happens a lot. And that puts a lot of pressure on our low back. So taking that principle, that's why you'll often see me do this little hip adjustment. I mean, if you're paying attention at all, you see me do it a lot. That helps me make sure that my low back is actually on the ground. Then I squeeze my core as I lower my feet to make sure that it stays on the ground. And then, especially for like chest presses or flies, you really pack. Again, it's hard to see, but I really pack down and back and then remain in that packed position, never letting it relax throughout the move. Cool. Yes, my dear.
So and I think it's because we work this area a lot, which is great. But my scapula is always one of the first things that starts to slip when I get tired.
Very much so.
Do you just have any perspective on that, or just like grit through it and
take a deep breath and reset?
Okay.
That is going to be when you hear me leading the workouts and I cue, take those micro rests, take those 3 to 5 seconds. That is for doing your mental checklist. Repacking, restacking, make sure. I know for me too, and it's been happening the last 3 weeks, like 2 to 3 weeks. Anytime we do bent over rows, I have gotten so lazy. Oh my gosh. And you can absolutely see the difference between this and this. And I can 1000% feel the difference. So if it's getting fatigued, drop your weight, drop your band, drop whatever, because the correct muscle activation without pain is the key. Cool. You're very welcome. So that leads me directly into the 2 questions that Lauren had, because that base is going to change how you feel and how those moves work. So the 2 questions that she had specifically were on the lean backs and on the pullovers that we did the other day. So first, onto the lean back. What we are looking for is I'm going to do it facing you guys first, and then I'll do it facing the other direction. So hips don't want to be, or excuse me, knees don't want to be tucked together, and they don't want to be super wide. We want to find a nice inner hip width distance, or some people like to think about it as 2 fists in between your knees. So getting that nice stacked inner hip width distance, because for most of us, especially women, our inner and our outer hips are different widths. So we're really looking for that inner hip width distance. And then from there, that's where that lean back action happens. So from the side, I generally do it with my feet flat. However, if you need a little bit more stability, tucking those toes under will give you a little bit more stability. And then you want to activate that core, get that scapular retraction. And if you notice, activating that core and that scapular retraction automatically fires up your glutes. It's very hard to have an activated core without activated glutes, okay? So then it's keeping a 100% straight line. And again, I'm just gonna get my arms out of the way so you can see. Leaning back and then leaning forwards. The first major muscle group that you're gonna feel it is in your quads. 100% it's a quad exercise, but then your auxiliary is your core for that stability and your glutes for that stability. Lauren, does that make sense? Does that change? I thought I saw a little light bulb. Did that change how it felt?
Yeah, no, it definitely did, because before I was only feeling it in my quads and my lower back, and then embracing it, I felt it in my booty.
Yay, yep. So if you're feeling it in your lower back, that means that your core and booty is not activated. So we want to pull it, find that braced position, pulling up and in so that we can activate the booty and the core. Cool. So then same thing, exact same principle on the pullover. Pullover is going to be chest primarily, core primarily, but then secondarily tri and some of our upper back. And big mistakes on this one, just like we've talked about, and I'm actually going to change perspective here so you can see it a little bit better. So again, a flat back versus
Can't hear you, Betsy.
motion comes from. Nope. Yes. Maybe.
Have to repeat that, please.
Yep. Repeat that whole thing because my internet's being. Ah! How about now? Nope. Yes, maybe. Yes. Okay, cool. So that open back is where it's going to put pressure onto your back. Getting that low back press is going to press our core down, and going into that tabletop is going to activate it even further. Then keeping your arms as straight as possible. And even you can see the difference between I'm relaxed here and I'm activated here, okay? So then just extend as far as you can down and then pull it back and open. Even just that should feel activated on your core. Then when we add the weight, that's where you're gonna get the chest activation and that shoulder and upper back activation. Places that this is going to get difficult is if you have limited shoulder mobility. So if your shoulders don't like to go further back, that's going to become an issue. But for those who do a lot of sitting and desk work, this one's really good because it actually does help to stretch it out. Helpful?
Yeah, I think where I was feeling it yesterday when I was up, it was right here.
Okay.
Just because it's not as, I don't work that area as much.
Correct. And it's probably also not as mobile. So one thing to do for that is to go into a half kneeling position here. And then you're going to swing the opposite arm all the way around and back, and then back through. So that's going to open that side up. Yep. Just like that. And then do some on the other side. And as you get more fluent in that language of movement, then you can start, where did my pipe go? I can't find my pipe, so I'm using a light stand. You can start doing, and that's going to be too short. I need something longer. I can make this longer. Sweet. So either using a band or a pipe or basically anything long-ish, just start moving back and front with it here to start opening that up and stretching. Cool. What else you got for me? Anything more right now, or are we good for today and we'll come back to it when we have more ideas? What are we doing?
I
have a question. It's not super related to
My baby is crying today. I'm sorry.
Oh, no
I cannot escape today at all. I was wondering about my knees. So I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know what's going on with them. But when I'm moving, they're like clenching.
Okay.
I mean, they're grounding pretty much. And I cannot do anything what goes, like if they're behind my back, I cannot sit down. So, and I like, and for some reason, I know it's incorrect to do the sit-ups, but sometimes it helps to do it incorrectly on my knees, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them.
So I'm going to do, actually next week, I'm going to focus specifically on knees. So we'll go over knee health and knee strength specifically next week. But in the meantime, this has been going on for a while for you. My base recommendation would be to go ahead and finally go see somebody, because
I did see the just a regular like I went to physician office, and then they check it out. They told like go to the sport massage or like a sport therapy. So I went to the sport therapy, and they said, oh, your knee is too weak. I said, no, this is not about it. It's not too weak. It's just something's going on. I ordered the x-ray, but with this COVID stuff, it's just not working out. Maybe it's arthritis or something like that.
Okay. So yeah, next week we'll go over some strengthening and some stuff that hopefully will help you. So yeah, I'm planning on a full session on knees next week.
That's perfect.
Cool. And Marina?
My question was also knee related, so we can move on to Lauren's question.
Well, what's yours, so I can make sure to address it next week?
Oh, just pretty much like for sore knees. Sometimes my knees kind of grind too, but only if I haven't warmed up.
Okay.
So like what muscles most affect the knee area? Like where should we focus on stretching if our knee hurts? Stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Yep, so we'll go over knees next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have, so one question is more personal. So when I'm walking, like today I just went walking on a treadmill and I just got like new shoes that should be pretty helpful, but I still find that my lower back starts to get sore if I'm going too fast. Maybe I'm just walking at like a incline, so nothing crazy. I'm not engaging.
It's core engagement, and it's postural engagement, and it is potentially, without seeing it, it's potentially your foot placement. So if you're walking at all pigeoned or at all at all externally rotated or at all internally rotated, that's going to affect how your hip alignment is. So for me, again, I trend towards a turn out because of all of my gymnastics and dance experience. So it just zings straight up my back. Also, again, that core engagement, the second you start leaning forwards at all of your weight is now being carried in your lower lumbar. So really paying attention to, are you reaching for the handles? Are you going at too great, even though 2% isn't that much for you at the moment, is it still too great of an incline where you're having to hunch over to keep up? Same thing with speed.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll try flatter because I know my feet, I don't know if I angle, but I know they lean in when I walk.
Yep. And so again, basically in the biz, it's referred to like, and physiologically, it's your kinetic chain. So basically anything that's happening from the tip of your toe to the bottom of, tip of your head to the bottom of your toe, it's all connected. So my shoulder issues mess with my ankle issues, so if you're pronating and if you're more flat-footed, then that's pressure on your inner knee, which is pressure on your hips, which is then pulling straight up into your lower back. Then you add boobs. So again, specifically for women who are not tiny chested, that low back, first thing to go. More supportive bra, that scapular retraction is going to pull that up and in. So yeah, those are some generalized suggestions around that.
And then I was also curious if there would be a way you could maybe give us a few more warm-up things, because some days I feel like I need a longer warm-up. Maybe I can do it before we jump on.
Yeah. So basically, do as many of the world's greatest stretch as you want to prior. And I don't think you were on, actually, I know you weren't. You weren't on for the foam rolling call, but foam rolling prior is good stuff. So when I'm on my game and when I'm doing my personal workouts as effectively as possible, I foam roll and I do an extensive warm up of bear crawls, iso marching, world's greatest stretch. And I could put this in a list. I'll put this in a list in the group. But like bear crawls, iso marching, world's greatest stretch, the windmills with my knees, toe touches, lateral lunges are my basic go-to. Sometimes I even throw in a couple of Turkish get-ups depending on what my day is looking like. But honestly, the warm-up takes 20 minutes. So on days when we're shorter on time, as much as you can do prior. I hope I didn't lose you. Are you there? Okay, cool. You froze, but I'm like, sometimes when I froze, you can still hear me. So I'm going to keep talking. So I'll type up that list, but those are kind of my go-tos. So Coolly.
I will try that out.
All right, I'm gonna hop off because my husband and I are gonna play games because we're not going over to Reagan's tonight. So yay. I hope you guys. Oh yes, please, one more.
And I would love to do more foam rollers because I'm not super familiar with proper usage of it.
Yeah. Go watch the video that we did, but the basic 100% basic is put the roller perpendicular. So if I'm rolling my calf, it's going to obviously on my calf back here. But it's perpendicular to the spot that you're rolling and then go slower than you want to. Those are your two basics. And if it's uncomfortable, that means you need to do it more. So yay. Cool. I hope this was helpful, guys. We'll do some more specific, like bracing and scapular retraction was my big one because that's what I've been seeing a lot. We'll do knees next week. And then I'm thinking I want to go over like a lower body day and kind of an upper body day to really kind of pinpoint some of that stuff. But we'll do knees for sure next week. And you guys are rock stars.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I am going to hit end recording here.